Work and sacrifice and perseverance and competitive drive and selflessness is the price that each and every one must pay to achieve the goals that are worthwhile. Each man must make a personal commitment to excellence and to victory, even though ultimate victory cannot be reached. Yet it still must be pursued with all of one's might and all of one's effort. The will to win, the will to excel, these are the things that endure, not only in football, but in every endeavor. It's a game which teaches us to be proud in defeat, yet humble and gentle in victory.
Well, good morning, Springs. How's everybody? Man, welcome to Superbowl Sunday. If you've never been with us at the Springs before, we enjoy some Super Bowl Sunday. Now, here's the thing, Super Bowl 60. How many of you are going to watch the game tonight? Yeah, it's good. Even if your team's not in it, right? How many of you will watch parts of it? Commercials, right? That's, but, you know, I don't know about you, but you're going to be joining 130 million Americans who will watch the Super Bowl tonight. And there are some of those, you know, those are the ones that are watching from a distance, but there is actually in the stadium that Ryan showed you some tickets that still are available today, are 65,000 people that bought a ticket. And as of last night, the average price of a ticket sold in that stadium was $8,400. And they're also going to spend $6.5 million on concessions. Because after all, if you bought $8,000 ticket, what's a $25 Coke, right? It's nothing. And you know, it's actually, it's going to be a game, not just a game between the Seahawks and the Patriots. It is the culmination of the life stories of 106 players, their coaches and teams who have been chasing this night all their lives. I mean, think about that moment. And what I love about Super Bowl is all the stories leading up to it. The stories you hear about players and coaches and dynasties and odds. And it's like, and well, it's kind of like the story of Noah Winter. See, Noah, he brags that he's been to more Super Bowls than Tom Brady. Because Brady, I mean, he appeared in 10 Super Bowls, more than any NFL player. But Noah, he's going to be a part of the Super Bowl tonight for the 30th year in a row. Because, not as a player, but because he's the guy that's in charge of the confetti blizzard at the end of every Super Bowl. This is the guy responsible, his company. And, you know, I mean, we all know, because when the blizzard begins, it's like it is the championship is won. One team, and they scatter all of this tissue, 300 pounds of tissue that has been cut in rectangular sections that are created just so it will float longer. And in that moment, there's not only, and I don't know if you know this or not, but there's not just one confetti drop and blizzard that hits the field. There are 2 times that it happens. The second time is when they're presenting the Lombardi Trophy, and they hit another confetti blast. But this time, actually, the confetti pieces are cut in the shape of the Lombardi Trophy. And not only that, they're actually now putting tweets on those that they're dropping out, that people have posted about the Super Bowl. I mean, it's big business. And yet, in that moment at the end, when we watch that, I mean, your hearts kind of go, oh, wow, they did it. And you realize they're champions. And here's the thing, inside of every single one of us is the desire to be a champion, a winner. And you might be sitting there going, well, my life isn't shaping up like that right now. But yet you have to know something, that God's word says that you were created to win. You were created to be a champion. That's what it says in Romans 8:37. Now in all these things we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. We are more than conquerors. I love that word because that word in the Greek language is actually hupernikeo, which means super conqueror. And actually nikeo is the Greek word, that's where Nike got their name. Is conqueror, victory. That's why the brand began with that name. And yet, I know that a lot of us, we don't feel like we're much of a champion. I mean, we're going through a season right now that life's got you pressed in and under, and you just don't feel nothing but defeat. I want to give you, out of a playbook, that if anybody knew what it meant to persevere and to win in life, it was the Apostle Paul. And I'm going to camp out for a while in his letter to the church at Corinth and listen to some takeaways that we can apply to our hearts and lives. And the first one is this. The first thing you have to do is you have to decide and choose to win. You're going to make up the decision. I want to win. I don't, I'm not going to settle anymore. Because winning in life always begins with one decision. It starts with one choice. Nobody drifts into a winning life. You choose it one decision at a time. Do you kind of go into life with a winning strategy? Are you looking for ways to win? Like, how many of you have a grocery store checkout strategy? Anybody? Come on, if you don't know what I'm talking about, I'm about ready to change your life. Because when you walk into the grocery store and you see all the lines, especially getting ready for Super Bowl Sunday, it's packed. And here's the things I've learned through the years. It's like you have to learn to count items, not people. It's just really important because shorter lines, I have found, are liars. Because one person with 2 carts and a coupon binder can ruin your day. You got to be aware, and always, always, always avoid the chatty cashier. The one who's, asking all these life questions of people. Oh, what are you baking? Where did you get that recipe? Listen, if you're in one of those lines, you're not in a checkout line. You just joined a small group. Yeah, it's critical. And beware of the price checker. That person who's standing there going, wait, what did that ring up as? No, I'm pretty sure I saw it was supposed to be 10 cents less. And because when you hear that, it's going to involve the store manager, a bagger, department heads. You just lost 5 to 10 minutes of your life and you can't get it back. So it's always interesting because life is all about choices. And so when you think about all of the daily choices that you and I make, what I know is that every life-changing story began with a choice. It was that, and I know we thinking the Super Bowl is a pretty emotional night at the end with the champions and the confetti parades, but actually the most emotional night is the NFL draft, because that's when they're chosen. That was the most emotional. I've seen so many videos of the players getting the call. And draft day is the day every player hopes for, that they would get an invitation to join a team, that their name would be picked. And I want you to watch this next clip, but I don't want you to watch it as a football fan. I want you to watch it as a human being. Because there's emotion and tears and joy when this player gets selected by the Lions to begin rebuilding their team in 2023 draft. Watch it.
Hello.
Brad Holmes, Jim with the Detroit Lions.
I'm doing great. How are you?
Hey, I told you I'd follow up with you, man. You ready to be alive?
Yes, sir.
All right, man. We're about to pick you here, man. Congratulations, man. Hey, it's one pride over here, man. We want you in this pride, all right? You're going to be a big part of what we're doing going forward, all right, man?
Yes, sir. You won't regret it.
All right, man. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Big man.
What's up, Coach?
Hey, we're fired up, my friend.
I'm fired up too, man.
For us, man. We're going to build this thing around guys like you. You hear me?
Yes, sir.
You come in and play just like you've been playing, man. You come in to compete, man. You be just as nasty and dirty as you've been. And you're going to help us turn this thing around. We're going to be winners, man. All right? You're the building block. You hear me?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Fired up, man. Hey, listen, I'm going to turn you over to our owner, all right?
Congratulations.
All of that heart and emotion was because they chose him. And he said yes. That was a big part because, you can say no. 7 players in all of the NFL draft history have said no to the team that offered them an invitation. And 15,000 have said yes. And in that moment, do you know why? He wasn't picked by a winning team. He was picked by a losing team that was going to rebuild the team. And he said yes because they asked him. He knew it would be a life-changing decision. And we've all had times in our lives where we remember one moment that shifted the trajectory of our lives. That's exactly what happened to the disciples when Jesus first called the first disciples. Let me kind of take you there. In Mark 1, 16 to 18, it said, one day as Jesus was walking along the shore of the Sea of Galilee, he saw Simon and his brother Andrew throwing a net into the water, for they fished for a living. Jesus called out to them, "Come, follow me, and I will show you how to fish for people." And they left their nets at once and followed him. I mean, this moment was a decision to follow Jesus that changed their lives forever. And because you got to understand something, in the first century, fishing wasn't a hobby, it was a family trade. It was like nets were handed down to generations, boats were handed down. Your future was largely decided by your father's occupation. You were trained. And Simon and Andrew, they weren't searching for a purpose. They already had one. They were fishermen. But yet Jesus' invitation, follow me, was an invitation that changed their lives forever. And you got to understand why. These guys, they weren't the top of the class. And understanding like the culture of that day, in the Jewish faith, when young men came up in the Jewish faith, they would begin their education at about 6 years old. And by 10 years old, they had memorized the Torah in the Old Testament, which was Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. All of them, verse by verse, memorized them by 10. By 10, I'm just hoping my kid can count to 10. I mean, it's like, but yet you look and you go, and then by 14, they memorized all the rest of the Hebrew literature, the scriptures. It was Genesis to Malachi, all of it. And then the best of the best were chosen by rabbis and given the invitation, follow me. And that was about 16 years old that they would pick the top of the top. And they'd look at that 16-year-old boy and they'd say, a rabbi would say, follow me. And in that moment, he left everything that was familiar to him, his family, his parents, his hometown, he left to follow the rabbi, to learn how to be like the rabbi. And so, and you got to understand, the most respected role in the community was a rabbi. It was the dream of every young boy. And yet, the fact that Simon was still fishing, these guys are grown men. And they're young men, but they didn't get picked, which means you guys didn't make the cut. You're not the best. And Jesus chose them. And I love that part of, you always see that with Jesus. He chooses the people that didn't measure up. He chooses the people that are the outsiders, the broken, those that are kicked to the sides of society. Those are the ones he picks and changes the world with them. And, but when they dropped their nets, you got to understand the choice they were making. Their nets represented their income, their security, their identity in the community. It was everything that they were. And I think so many people today, we want a better life. We want a stronger marriage. We want to be great parents. We want a deeper faith. We want more peace in the midst of the stress and all the turmoil and conflict in life. But too many people hold their nets. The nets of comfort. Well, you know what? I might not have the best life, but at least I know this life. I'm just going to hold on to what I got. Or the nets of control. That, you know what? If I leave everything, I've lost control of everything that I've done and who I am. I don't want to do that. Or this is the net of, it's just how I do my life. But if you're going to follow Jesus, you're going to drop those nets. Because he's inviting you into something greater than you could ever imagine. This Hooper Nikeo life. And Paul understood that. And Paul, because he was invited to follow Jesus, but he taught the church at Corinth, and he wrote these words to Corinth in chapter 9, verse 24. He said, don't you realize that in a race everyone runs, but only one person gets the prize? So run to win. I love it because they understood the athletics and the Olympic style competitions, because in Corinth there was one, and they understood that people train all their lives, and the race that they're running, the difference between them and the Olympics today is there is no silver medal or bronze medal. There is no second, third place. There's only one winner. And that's why he said, run to win. There's no participation trophy, right? Nobody gets ribbons. It's like there's only one winner. And Paul's saying, he didn't say run however you want. No, he said run to win. Choose that lifestyle, that focus in life. I'm going to believe that God has the best in my life for me, because all of Scripture says he does. And everyone wants to win, but few people are willing to choose what it takes to win. And Paul goes on, and he would say, second takeaway is, in order to do that, you have to stay in the pocket. You can't turn and run when life crushes in on you. You can't give up. See, a great quarterback stands in the pocket under pressure. The pocket is that U-shaped protected area in the backfield that's created by the offensive line, blocking for the quarterback to protect him. And if they stay in that pocket, and the pocket moves as the players are fighting for position, and if he stays, he's in the pocket looking downfield. No matter what's coming in, I thought about that. I thought, hopefully you got good peripheral vision, because if a 280-pound lineman is bearing down on you, you are about ready to get hit by a truck, right? And it's going to hurt. But when they come from behind, hey, wouldn't it be great if they had like just one of those Google screens that showed you where you're getting close and people are coming in on you, and kind of like your car, how it goes beep, 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 beep. Same thing. I think it would save a lot. But they don't have that. They're just running. They're staying in the pocket, and they're trying to just find a guy downfield and make the play. I think one of the best examples of it is a legendary moment in a Super Bowl. That it was the Giants and the Patriots, and Eli Manning was the quarterback, and it's called the helmet catch. And for those of you who are Steelers fans, this could be some PTSD for you. But Eli stays in the pocket and takes hits by 4 defenders, but he kept looking downfield. Watch the moment.
3rd down and 5. Pressure from Thomas off the edge. Eli Manning stays on his feet, airs it out down the field. It is caught by Tyree.
This ball's thrown, and Tyree just goes up for it like a basketball player. Harrison trying to knock it down.
And now with 59 seconds left, the Giants needing a touchdown. The ball is at the New England 24. Pressing it against his helmet as he goes to the ground.
59 seconds. Giants went on to win it. But here's the thing. Eli didn't stay in the pocket because of talent. He didn't stay in the pocket because he had natural ability. He stayed because he was trained. It was discipline under pressure. See, talent will get you drafted, but discipline keeps you on the team. And Paul, he goes on in 1 Corinthians 9, and he doesn't change the metaphor at all about athletics. He kind of doubles down on it. And he says in verse 26 and 27, he says, so I run with purpose in my step. I'm not just shadow boxing. I discipline my body like an athlete, training it to do what it should do. Purpose in every step means you have a game plan. You're not just allowing life to happen to you. You're not drifting, you're driving. And you think about pressure doesn't mean the play's over either. When you're feeling pressure, it means the play is developing in your life. That what happens, I think when the pressure's on in our lives, your pocket is collapsing. Do you stay in the pocket or do you run? You slide out and just hope you can make some miracle happen. See, when you feel like you're being crushed by the time demands and schedules and financial pressure that always seems to be following you, or family stress and conflict, or that outside pressure that squeezes the life out of your marriage. Standing in the pocket means focusing on the best things, not the urgent ones. Because there are things like in our lives when life presses in on us, so many times we drop things that are the most important things. Like time with God every day, time in His Word, time just sitting with Him and talking and praying. That moment, that time that you and I need desperately, that's the first thing that goes away. Or getting together, coming to church. It's like, oh man, busy, you know what? It's a little cold outside. Let's just watch online. Let's just, and then before you know it, you're online, and then you're not online. Because you're letting go of important things in your life, foundational things in your life. It's staying in the pocket. You've got to tenaciously be finding and building relationships. You need people. You need a team around you. And that's why we're doing small group push. We do this several times a year because we want you out of the rows and into circles. And this weekend in the lobby, you could sign up. We have a small group study that's going to meet in this room around tables that called Habits in the Household. It's about the habits that we could build in our households. And if you're here today and you're like, you know what, I'm fairly new to the faith or new to the Springs or I haven't been in church in a while, or listen, this is what I would recommend. We're also kicking off this Monday night a class we call Fresh Start. The foundations of the faith. And it's a great place to jump in, to meet new friends, to be part. My wife, Teddy, is going to be teaching that class. And I encourage you, take one of those options. Dive in. Because, you know, and the interesting thing is that, you know, when it came to pressure, Paul understood pressure. Like he wrote in 2 Corinthians 4:8-9, kind of like this quick summary statement of his life, which he could have written pages about pressure. But he said, we are pressed on every side by troubles, but we're not crushed. We're perplexed, but we're not driven to despair. We are hunted down, but never abandoned by God. We get knocked down, but we're not destroyed. You know what he's saying? He's saying we're going to keep standing. He was the one who said, for me, to live is Christ and die is gain. He's like, man, he was saying, no matter what, I win. And that's the winning life. He said, and quarterbacks know not to focus on the dangers pressing in on them, the linemen coming at them, the sack potential that is just outside of your reach. They don't focus on that because they know that if they focus on that, they will give their attention to that and they will miss the greatest play of their life downfield. And that's why every quarterback knows you have to keep your eyes downfield. Keep looking ahead. That's faith. Faith is future focused. It's like the best is yet to come. There is exceedingly abundantly more than we could ever ask or dream or imagine that God wants to do in your life, and it's right there. And that's what, that whole focus of your life, not on the dangers, but on what's downfield for you. It's like 1 Corinthians 9:25, Paul wrote, all athletes are disciplined in their training. They do it to win a prize. They do it to win a prize that will fade away, but we do it for an eternal prize. See, what he's saying is that athletes do it for a Lombardi trophy. And it's a like 7-pound sterling silver trophy. And that's it. They gave everything for that trophy. But Paul says we do it for an eternal prize. And you may be thinking, well, what is our prize? Is it like heaven? It sounds like a good answer, but it's not. That's not what Paul's writing about. Is it Jesus? That's a great answer. It's not what Paul's writing about. What Paul is saying, the prize, go back several verses before he started on this run to win and stay in the pocket. And in verse 22, he says, this is the prize. I try to find common ground with everyone, doing everything I can to save some. He said, the prize is people. It's people. People matter to God and they need to matter to us. I love the fact that Jesus called the outcasts. Jesus saw in people what no one else saw in them. He believed in them. He invited them and he changed their lives. The church at Corinth that Paul's writing all of this stuff to, run to win, with this champion language, they were losers. I don't know if you know the history of Corinth, but Corinth was this wealthy port city, but it was sexually immoral. It was such a broken down city, and that was what the church was. It was a new church that was started with young believers, and they had sexual immorality in the church, and they had people suing each other in the church, and there was conflict and false teachers, and it was a wreck. And those are the people Paul's going, run to win. Like, you know what he was saying? I believe in you. Because you know Jesus and you are Hooper Nikeo. I believe in you. Get up. And you know, I talk about how the stories of the Super Bowl draw me in. One captured my heart. It was thinking about the New England Patriots. For 18 years, they were a football dynasty. Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. They had 6 Super Bowl wins. And after 20 years, the dynasty ended. Brady left the team and went to Tampa Bay and won a Super Bowl. Belichick then left for other reasons. And the last 2 seasons were losing seasons. Their records, both years, were 4-13. This year, everything changed and they went to a winning season, 14-3. 14 wins. What happens that turns something around like that? Well, there's several things, but one is they got a new coach, Mike Vrabel. And Vrabel is a guy that comes in, and the first meeting he had with the team 9 months ago, he called them all in, and they walked in kind of expecting these meetings with depth charts and playbook talk, and yet they walked into the room, there was none of that. Matter of fact, all the chairs were set up in a circle. And coach walked in and sat down in a chair at the front of the room in the circle. And everybody was like, what's going on? And there wasn't loud music. There wasn't, this is a Patriots football speech. Just chairs in a circle. And yet, he didn't open with football talk. He opened with this. If we're going to win together, we have to know who we're fighting for. And then he told his story. Where he came from, who shaped him, who broke him and broke his heart, and what was his hope for the future. And players later said that it was in that moment that they leaned in, because he wasn't just teaching them vulnerability, he was demonstrating it. And what he taught them, what is called the 4 H's: history, heartbreak, heroes, and hope. And after he told his story, he looked at one of the players and said, okay, history, go. And there was silence. And the player told his story, where he came from, what it was like growing up. And then another player, and then another player, and then another, until every man shared their story. And they finished sharing, and they said by the end of the meeting, some of the guys were crying and emotional in the room. Others were just sitting in silence, but nobody left. But you know what moves us about that story? Is that it's not about football. It was that before the coach ever asked them to perform, he asked them to be known. And just to share who they were. And they said it changed their team. You know, I've thought about the fact that it's exactly what Jesus does with us. He knows your story. He knows where you've been. He knows what's happened in your life. That's why he stepped in onto earth. So that you could be known, so that he could pay for all the brokenness in your past and the sin and the bad choices and the garbage. And I mean, Jesus doesn't walk into your life and say, hey, fix yourself, clean yourself up before I talk to you. Prove yourself, win first, and then I'll give you a chance to belong. No, he says, Jesus always starts with a relationship, whether it was the disciples on that shore, whether it was a woman caught in adultery that he got down on his knees before. When he sits down face to face with people, it's always about people because you matter to him. And he died on the cross to pay for your sin, to give you a new hope. Yeah, one day we get to go to heaven, the hope of the future, but today we get to walk with him and he'll never leave us, and everything changes in that moment. When you think about it, what's the winning choice in your life? The winning choice is Jesus. He said, I love you. I want to change your life. Follow me. And for some of you, you start that. Today is the day that changes everything. Let's go to the Father in prayer. As you bow your heads and close your eyes, if you're here today, you say, today I want to begin a relationship with Jesus. I want to choose to follow him. I want my life to become like him. Tell him that. You can pray this prayer not out loud, but between you and God. You can say, dear Father, thank you for loving me, and thank you for sending Jesus to die on a cross to pay for my sins and my screw-ups, to give me forgiveness and a new life, home in heaven one day, but life at its best starting today. Jesus, I choose you, and I will follow you. And I ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.